One of the very first things that I do when I start working with a new hotel is to check their data and specifically the Google Analytics data. And one of the things that make hospitality very much different from all other sectors is that the hospitality industry is the only one in the world that has e-commerce standing on a different domain. Booking engines are our e-commerce systems. And even though working with different domains is not a problem per se, we need to consider the logic of Google. And the logic of Google in the context of Google Analytics is this. When moving from domain A, for example, your website, to domain B, for example, your booking engine, if not differently instructed, Google Analytics will start a new session. And what does that mean? In very simple words, it means that your data is messed up. And that's what cross-domain tracking is for. It's the very first thing that you need to look after as soon as you set up your account or as soon as you connect, for example, a new booking engine. And so in this video, we're going to see together first whether your cross-domain tracking is in place. And it's something that you can do in literally 10 seconds with no technical knowledge. So you might want to do that. And second of all, how to set up cross-domain tracking using Google Tag Manager. Again, with no technical knowledge, but just following a few mandatory steps. These and more coming up, so let's dig in. Okay, so here we are with our demo hotel website, which pretends to be just like a normal hotel website with a call to action on top, a check availability button. Now you might have a button like this, you may have a link, a simple link, you may have a form with arrival, departure, number of adults, number of children. That's totally beyond the point. Because what we really need to define and we need to check is whether the two domains, meaning the hotel website domain, in this case it's just a demo, so demohotel.radiobookings.com, and the booking engine link, which is the link behind this button, as you can see from the bottom left of my screen is radiobookings.com, is different. As you can see, booking engine domain, radiobookings.com, and hotel website domain, demohotel.radiobookings.com are different. Now, I said before, in the context of Google Analytics, even though you have the same Google Analytics account installed on both domains, two different domains, so as soon as a user jumps from here, domain A, your website domain, to here, your booking engine domain, well, new domain triggers a new session. And what does that mean? It means that all your session-based dimension, all your session-based metrics, including but not limited to the conversion rate, which I guess we all agree is the most important, or at least one of the most important KPI to assess whether you're performing well or not, well, they're going to be messed up, simple as that. They're not going to be reliable because ultimately you're going to be counting more sessions than you actually have. And that's what cross-domain tracking is for. It's a very simple instruction that we're going to give to Google in order to instruct, indeed, Google Analytics that these two domains, so in this case, demohotel.radiobookings.com, and this domain here, so radiobookings.com, are going to be considered within the same context of the same session, all right? So, but first of all, let's check whether we have cross-domain tracking in place. And I said before, it takes literally 10 seconds. It's something you can do right away with no technical knowledge. All you have to do is to click the check availability button. So in this case, I'm going to hit the button by pressing the command digit on my keyboard so that it's going to open up in a new tab. So radiobookings.com, in this case, I can already see the cross-domain tracking is not in place. And how can I know that? Because if it was in place, I should be seeing something more in here, in the URL. All right, so not just the main domain that was behind this button here. But cross-domain tracking means that Google Analytics will instruct this link and append a URL parameter to this link, and it will use that URL parameter to understand whether the cross-domain tracking is in place or not. So it's probably it sounds very techy. However, it's going to be very simple as soon as I'm going to show you how exactly it works and how to set that up. All right. So for the time being, let's just consider that cross-domain tracking is not in place. So we will need to do that. And how do we do it? We'll do it with Google Tag Manager. All right. So I have our Google Tag Manager demo account, which is installed on this website. Whether the same Google Tag Manager is installed on the booking engine domain is preferable, but it's not mandatory, all right? So the most important thing is that you will need to have a Google Tag Manager installed on your domain website. Sorry, on your website domain. So let's see how to do it. So first of all, we have already a Google Analytics account, all right? So demo test hotel. So first of all, we will need to go into admin. I'm going to do everything from scratch, even though some of the things that I'm going to show you, you probably already have in place. So you don't need to follow every single step. But in order to have something that is complete from A to Z, I'm going to show every single step. So first of all, I'm going to take the tracking ID, which is my Google Analytics, Universal Analytics account. And the way to do it is that you go into your admin panel and then you just check the property settings and you will see your UA account in here. So back to Google Tag Manager, first of all, I'm going to create, in this case I already have, a Google Analytics code. I'm going to store it as a variable. All right. So the variable type there is in Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics variable. So you don't have to select anything else other than this, Google Analytics settings. And all you have to do is to enter that code that you took directly from the admin panel of your Google Analytics account, cookie domain auto, and then there is one more thing that you will need to do. You open the more settings toggle, and then as you can see, the second last option is cross-domain tracking. And it's super simple, because all you need to do is to enter the two domains that are going to be considered as part of the same cross-domain tracking. So in our case, we have our main domain, and I'm just going to take everything with no www nor HTTPS or whatsoever. So I'm just going to take this and I paste it in here. And then I'm going to need the second domain. All right, so I'm going to hit again the check availability button in a new tab, because I'm going to copy. Of course, you can also type it manually, but I am quite lazy, so I am just going to open a new tab. And so in here, I have already placed the first link. So in your case, it's going to be your website domain, comma, and then the second domain, which in your case is going to be your booking engine domain. All right, so you don't need to take all the parameters of your booking engine. All you need to take is everything until the .com, .it, .fr, .de, whatever the domain extension is, all right? More likely, if you open up your website domain, your booking engine domain from your booking engine, you will have a lot of parameters attached to it. You don't need anything of that. Just open the domain and eventually the subdomain. Like in the case of Synexis, for example, the domain that you will need to take is be.synexis.com. Everything else, everything that comes after that is not needed, all right? And that's pretty much it. Just be sure that you have a cookie domain set to auto and that you place these two things attached in here. So cross-domain tracking and the two domain, your website domain and and booking engine domain, and hit save. And then let's create a Google Analytics tag. In this case, I'm going to be very fast because this is beyond the point. Google Analytics, track type, page view. I'm going to select my variable that I have already set up. And as you can see in here, the two domains, auto-link domains, have already been appended. So there is nothing else that I need to do. I'm just going to give it a name, Google Analytics page view. And under the triggering section, I'm just going to select all pages and save. Now, as said, more likely, if you have already been working with Google Tag Manager, you already have a tag that looks like this. So all you need to do is to check your variable, meaning the Google Analytics setting, take the variable and make sure that you have these two domains, so website domain and booking engine domain, appended in that field. That's all it needs to take. All right, so let's preview in our example, because with the preview section, we are going to see our changes before pushing them into live environment. So it will open up this website, the same website in here. You will see a few, like a window like this popping up, but that is just a confirmation that Tag Assistant, so Google Tag Manager preview mode, is enabled. And all you have to do, like in this case, now, if I mouse over the check availability button, you will see the link in the bottom left of my corner being the same and nothing has changed. All right. However, if I press it and I go into the new link, you will see that now I no longer have directyourbookings.com, but I have directyourbookings.com question mark and this parameter here, underscore GA equal and then a number. And what is the number? That number is the client ID that Google Analytics takes from the main domain, so from domain A, and appends it to domain B. And this is all that it needs to understand that this is the same session. So as opposed to the example before where cross-domain tracking was not enabled, in this case is enabled, and thus I have been counted only one session as opposed to two sessions. And now my data is going to be reliable. You see, that is super easy, and with the help of a tool like Google Tag Manager, this literally very little intervention that you have to do in your settings. Of course, you can set up cross-domain tracking also without Google Tag Manager, so directly injecting a piece of code on your website. Feel free to do that, of course. This is not part of this video and this tutorial. As you know, I only work with Google Tag Manager. I do not even consider working with hard-coded snippet of Google Analytics on any hotel website nor any hotel booking engine, because to me it doesn't simply make no sense. And so this is pretty much it. So I guess you enjoyed it. So make sure to make this kind of check with your website and booking engine. If not, ask your developer. I mean, if you don't have access to your own Google Tag Manager, or if you don't know how to deal with it, ask your webmaster, not your booking engine provider, right? So, because this is something that needs to be happening on your website, not on the booking engine. So check with your webmaster. And yes, I hope you enjoyed it. And this is going to be making your data way more reliable.